So the entire day has been filled with anticipation of partially what's happening to Jerome Powell and partially of what is going to be announced tomorrow, as there's a few things happening right now as we speak. Many people are paying attention to that could have some effect on the crypto markets. Inflation, Jerome Powell speaking before Congress, and most likely the FTX redistributions of funds. Having said that, today was a pretty beautiful day for the crypto markets. Most coins saw a pretty juicy up, a couple percent back in the green. XRP going back above $2.50. I don't even know exactly where the Bitcoin price topped out at, but as I woke up, I expected it to be full on carnage. But for the first time in a long while, it was actually nice to open my eyes again. But as the day progressed, kind of went down again a few percent. Right now, it seems we're back in the green. But it just shows you that even though times are kind of quiet, we're not seeing the craziest of moves, it's still ever so turbulent, right? So having said that, like I was stating earlier, Fed Chair Jerome Powell testifies before Congress. I thought about live streaming all of this as well. Theoretically speaking, it's not that relevant for crypto though. If it was Gary Gensler, for example, I think it'd be more interesting to us. It might move markets though, like it often does. Everything Jerome Powell says could move the market significantly, but recently, every single time something came out, it was kind of like as was expected. He really, whenever he's in front of Congress, doesn't say too much. Maybe now that Elon Musk has entered the game or DOGE has been created, things might be officially a bit more strict. I'm not so sure if this is really worth your time. It is if you have enough of it, but I'm like, whatever he says, I don't think it's going to change the outcome of anything too much. We'll talk about that in a second though. What was also interesting to me, before we dive into exactly what is going to be happening tomorrow, was this. There was some speculation going around that Binance sold 94% of its Bitcoin reserves, 99.9% of ETH, and 99% of their Solana last month. These were profits, not customer funds, analysts for up reports. And Binance simply responded saying, oh no, it's actually just, we changed the accounting a little bit. We didn't actually sell that much. This is just completely wrong. And from my own perspective, I'm also thinking, if you really think that Binance sold every single thing when this is their job, this is their business, the only thing they should be doing if we're talking about major cryptos like Bitcoin is accumulating more, then it'd be a bit crazy in my book. If they really sold everything, we're going to zero, right? Because Binance is basically the standard of everything. So this is a very heavy statement to make. And so it's quite important you verify things properly. Now, Binance's help desk said, hey, they're actually not selling assets. It's just simply an adjustment in the way they account for their treasury, which sounds more logical. But again, them selling everything to fiat, I don't think is happening. So I wasn't really too worried about all of this. But I don't want to stay stuck on that for too long because I, again, don't think it will have too much of an effect. What might, though, is this right here. So right now, as I said, we have Fed Chair Jerome Powell's testimony that is basically happening right now as we speak. Started about 20 minutes ago, and you can watch it if you want to, but again, I don't think it's going to move markets too much. If you missed it, regardless, apparently tomorrow we'll have more of it as we get the inflation numbers coming out tomorrow. A little bit after that, we again get another version, or I guess the second half, or whatever you might call it, of Fed Chair Jerome Powell's testimony. I personally will not be watching. As I said, if it's Gary Gensler or somebody of the sort, count me in. I always love those to kind of see how he's trembling. But with Chair Powell, I think it's always like after the interest rate decision, for example, comes out, there's always a little speech, right? And every single time I've watched it thus far, I'm always like, yeah, this was actually a waste of time. Nothing really happened. The market might move a little bit, sure, but it tends to kind of happen in an unexpected way, in the sense that it's quite volatile around that time, but not necessarily that logic based on the information that comes out. And again, maybe if you really spend a lot of time focusing in on how to trade it, it's possible, but I've not. I'm just trying to listen to the information and do something with it, but it's very significantly difficult. And now before I move on, one thing I noticed is that a lot of people in the comments section actually love all these Telegram apps. And one of the ones that I got recommended to me a little bit ago, I'm just trying it for the first time on the computer right now, is like a whale one, Wheel of Whales. Now basically you can complete tasks for more rewards, you can invite friends to also earn a percentage of what they're earning. But basically the idea is as follows. You can play games and hopefully earn some of their tokens. And that's like a whole subgenre of crypto that a lot of people are busy with, that many of us that might focus on specific altcoins just forget about or don't really see. So I dabble into these different apps every now and again. But for example, this one here, the game, it's actually like a real business that you're supposed to make. It's actually pretty cool. Now, of course, you also have this tapping, but basically anything that you do can earn you some tokens. And there's also many different games they've got internally. But just looking at their Twitter, this has been used a lot. And that's one of the funny things. Many people don't realize that this whole tap to win, this whole Telegram debacle is such a big deal. And sometimes you earn very little, but sometimes, and that's what most people are hoping for, you catch the big guns, the big guys, and it turns out to be one of the best decisions of your life to just have tapped, basically. I mean, as you can see, over 5 million people have been tapping it for over, I guess, I can't say how many times they've tapped or how many good businesses they've got running, because the idea is obviously with most of these Telegram games, you tap for a little bit and then it goes over into automation, which is basically sort of a business game that you then start running more and more efficiently over time. But I mean, it's pretty simple, easy to find all over on Telegram, and they're launching their token right around this time, like the first quarter of 2025. So if you're looking for a new tap to earn game, you can go ahead and check it out. Having said that, a little bit earlier, we were talking about this FTX redistribution. So Ben Zhao said, damn, if you had BTC, you're screwed. Bitcoin was 15,000 at the time. And what he's referring to is FTX, right? We talked before about how they liquidated their assets, and right now they're basically going to get, or the people are going to get themselves USDT back for whatever crypto they had back then, right? But the negative thing is, if you're holding mostly coins, like Bitcoin, at the time when Bitcoin was 15K, right now it's 100K, you're still getting, theoretically speaking, let's say between 13 and 18K. I don't know how much exactly you're going to get. I believe they had like a over 100% return, but I'm not 100% sure on that. Maybe it depends on the country. But those sales are basically starting within a week from now. FTX to start their $16 billion creditor repayments on February 18th, 2025, with $6.5 to $7 billion in the first phase. Payouts are based on November 2022 prices, though, and that is again where people will get absolutely screwed. One of my friends just said he went through the whole very rigorous process to only get a very small chunk of, okay, still a couple $1,000s, I think, but relative to what it would have been now, it's kind of and it's a long process, man. It's an interesting one, that's for sure. And as I was reading that, I also saw this article, by the way. Hong Kong embraces crypto for visa investment proof. They've introduced a new investment visa program where applicants can now use Bitcoin and Ethereum as a proof of the net worth if it meets over 30 million Hong Kong dollars. I believe that's 5 million USD. I'm not sure if it was divided by 8 or divided by 6-ish. It's 3.85 million to be exact, US dollars. Regardless, this policy update is part of efforts to attract wealthy immigrants and indicates a growing acceptance of crypto as legitimate financial assets in major financial hubs. I kept thinking about it in the sense that the whole space is really, really changing from it all being seen as a scam. And, when FTX collapsed, we're all, not me, but a lot of people were talking about it in such a bad light. Really, now that the US is embracing all this, we've also had articles of, do I have it still open? I do not have it open. Where did it go? Here we go. We also have countries, or Norway's central bank, investing hundreds of millions of dollars into these Bitcoin-related funds and products. If you keep thinking about it, things are changing so significantly in such a short amount of time, and if you blink, you'll sweep over it all. But really, in the background, it is happening. And I keep reminding people that even though right now we're not sure if we're at 1 or we're at 2, things will get slightly worse. Eventually, we will be going to 3. And that's just what I want people to keep in the back of their heads. That right now, we are in such, in my opinion, of a fortunate position to get into this whole crypto space quite early. And even if you don't consider yourself early, you're still quite ahead of the majority of the curve. A little side note, guys, if you also want to trade crypto, I've got a couple of links for that down below, like Bluefin or like WeX, a couple of platforms you can trade on. But again, to continue on, if the whole market will be going to hundreds of trillions of dollars eventually, which I solemnly believe, then it's only just a matter of being able to sit through these darker times or these down times. But if we know where we're headed eventually, that's all we need to do. Just be patient. Either try to get some trades in to get the most amount of coins or dollars possible in the meantime. But if, again, the trajectory is mostly up, I don't really think we need to be too afraid with all this. Eventually, we'll turn back around. Right now, again, over a little bit of a longer term scope. We're not necessarily looking that positive. I mean, even if you take a look at Ethereum from a little bit of a different angle, you can see here that from any angle you draw it at, we have been converging for the most part. Soon enough, though, I think this will turn right back around. It's all just a matter of time and timing. If you get too impatient, you might get caught up and you sell at the freaking bottom. But again, most likely in a few weeks we'll just see how prices are way above, maybe even above $10,000. And I still believe in Ethereum, even though right now it's been kind of garbage, because again, it's all about timing. Right now it's not the best time, but I guess right now is a point where you're buying it because it's an undervalued asset, not because it's working greatly. And I guess, again, if you're a longer term investor, these are all completely fine, because from every single perspective, trends are down right now. This is, for example, the XRP trend. We're not doing the best. That's, again, theoretically speaking, where things get more and more interesting to buy when the interest from the general public is also lower. Obviously, most people get afraid right here, which is good, but that's just my thoughts on the matter. Just wanted to quickly share what's happening tomorrow. We get ourselves the inflation numbers. Prices always move around that, so be careful whenever the numbers come out. Most likely we'll see either a spike or a little bit of a dip. Doesn't always happen, but tends to happen. So again, if you have any position open, you might want to watch out for that. To put it into perspective, as you can see right here, the year-over-year inflation right now 2.9, expected to stay the same at 2.9. Core inflation 3.2, expected to fall down to 3.1. If anything deviates from the forecasted numbers, markets will move more significantly, I should say. But even in this case here, it could move a little bit based on this change. Sometimes though, and that's kind of funny, staying the same is the bigger mover in that sense, because theoretically speaking, we're going up. Saying the same could be an interesting one. Then again, it's kind of funny how inflation managed itself again over time. And whenever I look at this, I just realize how quickly time flies, man. I remember making these videos when inflation really was at crazy levels, but we're not back in 2022 anymore. We're in 2025 right now. Anyway, just want y'all to keep that in the back of your head. Time flies. Markets move, and inflation right now is a pretty healthy percentage, but maybe, just maybe, this Jerome Powell speech now is hinting at something crazy happening tomorrow. Could be. Again, I'm not watching it. And then maybe tomorrow afterwards, he's again saying something crazy. Could be happening. But that was it for right now in our little crypto update.